This is Jordan Tower with JT News. Make sure you smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. Let's get right into the news. Well, when you have a crew like a Dipset, a LOX, a G-Unit, and you're the head of that crew, you expect your crew to have your back no matter what, especially because you're making them millionaires. Camron was the head of Dipset, undeniably. We know this. But Jim Jones and Juelz, when they rose to fame, they betrayed Camron, and Camron never overcame that betrayal. Okay, G-Unit broke up too. He was betrayed multiple times of everybody in that crew eventually. The LOX, though, you never saw them break it. They probably had plenty of problems behind the scenes. I've seen some of them, but you know what? They always are brothers. It's over in a week, over in 2 weeks. You know, it's like they come together and they keep it out of the public. Right? Dipset's was very public. When Camron and 50 Cent went at it on the radio with Angie Martinez that day, the next day or two, 50 Cent had a diss record out and a video. The day that happened where 50 Cent and Camron went at it on the radio, Jim Jones was shooting a video in Harlem with Juelz Santana, the one in the church, right? And I happened to be covering the behind the scenes that day. When that happened, they all went into a room and they discussed it. They didn't like what was going on. Remember, at this time, Jim Jones, balling, all that stuff, you know, was all going on, right? Jim Jones was at the height of his career at this time. He was the one producing the most records for Dipset at that moment. He felt like he was the boss, and he's going to take his career in his own direction. That's the day Dipset was over. Jim Jones and Juelz had a bond, and they went forward without Camron. Camron dropped even dropped a diss to 50 Cent and bigged up Juelz and Jim Jones, but they were nowhere to be seen in that video. Notice that. And then after that, a few weeks later, Juelz and Jim appear on stage with 50 Cent, showing solidarity that they are against Dipset. They're against Camron's moves. They didn't sanction that move. And guess what? The Dipset was broken forever at that point. You could see on stage at Versus, Camron wasn't really up there with Juelz performing or Jim Jones kind of kicking back, kind of keeping his distance. Everything is a check now with him. Dipset is a check. He's smart. He's not going to get in his feelings and never mess with them again. He knows that messing with Jim and Juelz is good for money, okay? You can do deals with the Knicks. Well, it wasn't the Knicks. They did it with some company, Kith, right? Was it Kith, the company they did it with? They're doing Dipset deals, and they're all, you know, it looks, you can make more money as a unit. They can go on tour as a unit now. They can't go on tour solo right now. They need to go on tour as a unit. And they just ruined everything. You know, Jim Jones was going on BET with 50 Cent, showing solidarity with G-Unit against when Camron and 50 just weren't getting along. They didn't make peace till like 4 or 5 years ago, you know? So Jim Jones and Juelz Santana betrayed Camron, their leader. Camron is a better CEO than... I say Camron and 50 Cent are the best rap CEOs out of New York City. I would say Jay and Dame kind of too, but they kind of, you know, they had their selfish moments. 50 Cent made all of his guys millionaires and put them ahead of his second album, right? He should have backed up on his second album right away, but he dropped a G-Unit album, put them all on, and they all had solo careers after that, millionaires. Cameron let everybody use the Bird. He let everybody use Dipset. He got Juelz on when people didn't completely believe in Juelz at Rockefeller. He broke a deal with, I think it was Def Jam / Rockefeller, something like that. Then Jim Jones, he put him on a bunch of albums and allowed Jim Jones got a deal over at Koch using Dipset brand. And he let Duke the God use Dipset brand, and they had a bunch of Diplomatic Immunity albums. 40 Cal, let him use the Bird. Hell Rel, J.R. Writer, Uncod, let them all use it. Even Shice Bubs was able to use it. You know, it's like they all had careers where they were making money. He allowed everybody to make money. All he wanted was his money for the bird logo, and that was it. And he put everybody on. He got on everybody's tracks. He put everybody on. But yeah, how does he get repaid? No loyalty. No loyalty from Juelz and Jim Jones. They broke out on their own and wanted to have their, save their own careers. They said, this isn't going to be good going again. Remember, 50 Cent was destroying everybody back then. So when they saw that, they said, what's the chances Cam's going to survive this? Cam could have survived it if they all had his back and they all went against 50 Cent. But once Camron was just left on his own, and then Juelz and Jim Jones were just over there partying with 50 Cent, once you see a break in Dipset, nobody believes in it anymore. The same thing happened to G-Unit. Once the game left and started dissing them, and then Young Buck left and started dissing them, things just were never the same anymore. You never believed in G-Unit the same, And then eventually Lloyd Banks leaves. Even Tony Yayo had a rough year or two with 50 Cent at one point, People don't know how to stick together. People don't know that, hey, you build a brand like a G-Unit, a Dipset, or LOX or something, you stay together. Because it's always, people believe in the company as long as it looks healthy. Once it starts looking sickly, they're out. And they destroyed Dipset forever. And it affected Camron. It would affect me too if I made these guys rich and expected they were my friends and they betrayed me like that and just went against me and went with the ops. It's over, man. And Camron's smart though. He put emotions aside at one point. You remember Juelz and Cam having that beef where Juelz was saying he was not letting me out of my contract. I can't do this. And Camron said, I'm letting him out of his contract. I just want to get paid from Def Jam, And it seems like he's, sipping a little too much. And then Juelz had his response. Even Jim and Camron had a very public issue in 16, 17. And it was evident before then. When he had dropped Ballin', he felt like, I don't need Cam anymore. He changed the name of his company to Bird Gang instead of Dipset. Crazy. Changed the name of his whole label to Bird Gang. He repped that. Dude, that was one of the biggest betrayals I've ever seen in hip-hop is Jim Jones and Juelz Santana. I'm glad to see them back together now, but it's never going to be the same. You could see that Camron doesn't trust him 100%. I don't blame him. I don't blame him for being a little weird. Those are his friends, and you want to be around people you can share memories with, and you can share memories with all of them. Freaky Zeke was the only one to be able to bring them back together, man, because he always stayed kind of neutral on everything. Anyways, I just wanted to bring that point up, and that's a big portion of why they lost versus. They're not unified. The LOX are still unified, and they still got that chemistry. Dipset don't have the chemistry anymore. They're all leaders. There's no leader. Jadakiss is still the leader of the LOX, even though when it's time to lead on stage, he leads. Camron is the leader of Dipset, but they don't follow his lead. And that's why they lost. That's why it looked so sloppy and wasn't even close on Versus. Should have been a lot closer than it was, And it wasn't even close. Camron got booed off stage and Jim Jones dove off of stage, just trying to get out of the massacre on stage that was happening, Hell Rell, J.R. Ryder, and 40 Cal were in the crowd watching. No disrespect to them. They were just watching. They should have been on stage. Everybody else and their mother was on stage. That shouldn't have been on there. But the core members of Dipset can't be on stage. Where, even with the LOX, where was J Hood? It's just crazy, man. Always remember that Jim Jones and Juelz Santana are some of the biggest betrayals in hip hop history. And 50 Cent was able to split Dipset apart. That's insane. He was able to cause a divide in Dipset. It happened prior to him dropping the diss record, but when he did drop that first diss record, he was reassigning, Jim Jones is the leader now. Juelz is under Jim Jones, and Camron is a soldier now. That right there, he was putting the battery in everyone's back over there, and Dipset was never the same. It was just, what an atrocity. What a powerful movement that they destroyed. And they were a part of building and destroyed their own company. crazy, man. Anyways, guys, what do you guys think? This is Jordan Tower with JT News. Make sure you smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, and I'll check you guys in the next one. Tell me what you guys think below. Peace.